to affirm their destiny. La 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 la. Even so, all of us together can create a better land. Leave the past, a new tomorrow waits for all who understand. La 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 la. Leave the past, a new tomorrow waits for all who understand.
For your kindness and for all of the kind words. Let me begin by saying that I would like to dispel a possible doubt that is that because our lives are dedicated to a spiritual effort, that therefore we don't have too much practical experience, that we haven't dealt with the world very much, we haven't had to deal with stresses and problems, and that we've led some kind of very distant, removed, and tranquil life. That's not true. We have been intensely active in our life. The creation of something that is a new model for the entire world. When our guru came to America, he saw that the consciousness of Americans had an imbalance in it. It had a lot of drive. It had a lot of energy. It had a lot of positive thinking, so that Americans are extremely good at accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish. But we're, as a culture, unbalanced in that we have driven too much toward a material satisfaction and not enough toward what is going to really feed us as people. And so, seeing this, he suggested that we should try to establish communities where there could be balanced living. And Anandha, the work that my wife, Nayaswami Devi, and I have done, has established over 9 communities around the world. And the establishment of a new paradigm into the world, let me tell you, is not necessarily easy work. It's much, much easier to establish a business or to establish something that has already been done, because you have a model for how that is done. But to have to create and have to... We've got an echo going on. Okay. So to create a new model, to create a new paradigm, a new way of living that has never been done, and to do it successfully so that it's now in its 50th year, or nearly in its 50th year. That means that there has been some intense energy and intense drive and willpower that has allowed that to be accomplished. We can accomplish nothing. None of you can accomplish anything without intense effort and intense will. I know that you know that already, otherwise you would not be sitting in this class. You've had to go through a very competitive, stressful life in order even to get as far as you are now, and that will continue. But because we want to talk mainly about balanced living, but I wanted first to say that we're not coming from an impractical, distant, unrelated area, or an area that we don't have any experience of the things that we're talking about ourselves. We have lived what we're talking about. So let me now ask a question. You don't need to answer. I'm going to answer for you, but I'm going to give a little pause for you to think. Why are you here studying at this university? Just stop and think about that for a little while. I would imagine that most of you answer that question by thinking to yourself that being here is going to allow me to get a good job. I will be able to earn a good living. I will be able to have possessions. I will be able to have a house. I will be able, in other words, to live a successful life. Let me ask another question. Why do you want to have a house? Why do you want to have money? Why do you want to have success? Think about that for just a moment. What is that going to do for you as an individual? Is it going to do the one thing that you are most wanting? Our Guru Yogananda said that everyone in the world is motivated by the same basic motivation. We have a desire to be happy and a desire to avoid pain or suffering. So getting a job, getting a house, getting possessions, underlying that is the motivation of doing that in order to be happy. Isn't that correct? Otherwise, if your professors told you, we want you to struggle for 25 years of education in order to be able to leave school and lead a terrible and unhappy life, how many of you would be in this room? Of course not. And so now the question has to be asked is, does this track lead to happiness? Does getting an education, attaining success, attaining possessions, perhaps status in society, does that lead to happiness? Yes, it does. But it does not lead to a balanced happiness. Many people, my wife and I, travel throughout India. We come often. We also travel around the world. And we have seen a pattern around the world, and especially true in India, and especially true at this time in India, where people are running so fast and so hard for job, for position, because the competition is so strong behind them that they have no time to really calm down and stop and enjoy what they're trying to achieve. And so I'm not going to suggest that you don't strive, because it would be useless for me to suggest that. You are going to strive. There's too much competition, there's too much pressure, and India now is rising up, not only in the culture of India, but in the whole culture of the world. And so that rising up, one can think of it like pushing up a whole continent. That takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort. And so that is going to continue, and it is almost certainly going to continue throughout your entire life. You are going to be under pressure and under stress, and you will be striving to achieve, because if you don't, somebody else will come forward and take your place. And so I'm not suggesting that you don't strive, that you don't make that effort. But what I am going to suggest and going to give you some practical ideas is that you learn how to take a balanced view to your life, because unless you take a balanced view to your life, you will not achieve what you yourself are wanting to achieve, which is happiness. If you only work with the intellect, and you only work with the will, and you strive and push and attempt to achieve, you may accomplish that, achievement, that goal, whatever it is. Some of you may go out and found an entrepreneurial company that creates huge wealth, or you may find wonderful positions. But 10 or 15 years down the line, you are likely to find that your life is beginning to feel somewhat empty, and to be true, somewhat shallow, because the pursuit of outward success only feeds a small part of who we are. See, we have within us, each one of us has within us different aspects of our nature. We have a physical body, obviously, and there are things that we can do to keep that physical body healthy, to keep it strong, to keep disease away. And if we don't take care of our physical body, we will grow sick, or we will grow feeble, and we won't be able to do the other things that we're attempting to do. But I'm not going to talk at any length whatsoever about how to take care of your physical body. There are many, many blogs, and the whole internet is filled with advice about how to take care of your physical body. So let's assume that in all of this striving, all of this pressure, all of the hours that you will spend on the job or in a car, commuting or whatever it is, those hours and hours, that you find some time to also devote to taking care of your health and your body. Because if you don't, that imbalance will end up making you unable to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. Think of an animal, let's say an elephant, since elephants are so large and regal and seem nothing could bother them. But that elephant has to walk on 4 legs. And one of those legs is its physical health. And if that leg is injured or is gone, that elephant can't walk very well, can it? So you're going to have to balance your life in such a way that you address the health of your physical body. But the health of the physical body is the least of your concerns, honestly. Next comes the fact that you have emotions, you have an intellect, you have a mind and an emotional body. And if the balance that you have of what you do with your mind, or what you receive into your mind, is out of balance, you can't be happy. If all you do is work, 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 you will not end up being happy. If all you do is use the intellect, you won't be happy, because your emotional nature also needs to have attention. It needs to be brought into balance. It needs to be fed. And what feeds your emotional nature? Does driving to, let's take the model of starting a successful entrepreneurial business. Does driving and day after day, year after year, trying to achieve that success and that focus on that alone, does that feed your emotional nature? What is the emotional nature that you want? Well, part of it is that you want to be happy. But what else is a part of that being happy? You are going to want to have healthy interactions with people. You're going to want to have harmony in your life. You're going to want to have love in your life. You're going to want to have the ability to work with others, be with others, enjoy the company of others in such a way that it leads to your happiness. If you were an entrepreneur and all you did was shout at other people and drive them and tell them how terrible they were and they were not doing a good job and that they had better shape up, or you're going to fire them and replace them with someone else, what kind of emotional energy are you going to receive in return from those people? See, there is a spiritual law that whatever kind of energy we give out, we are going to receive back. And so if you give out the energy of, I don't care about you, I don't care about your welfare, I don't value you, I do not respect you, what are you going to receive back from that person? You're going to receive exactly the same thing back. And so, in an emotional sense, what we have to do is we have to develop those qualities, and I will call them qualities of the heart, that will allow us to create a kind of an aura around us that is an aura of happiness. And what does that mean? Does it mean, oh, I'll go around and I'll somehow be disconnected with the world, I won't care about things, and I'll live in a little bubble and I'll say I'm happy? I don't mean that at all. One of the spiritual teachers in America said, just because you're trying to become spiritual does not mean that you're going to forget your telephone number. So it's not bubble-headedness, but what are the qualities of the heart that you are going to need to put out in order to achieve? Remember, everything is about achieving your own happiness. And if you want to achieve your own happiness, because of this law of karma, what you put out, you're going to get back. The only way that you can successfully achieve your own happiness is to help others become happy. If you don't do that, your life is going to be out of balance, and at an emotional level, if you do not learn and do not have within you the desire to help others become happy, you will be setting the conditions for your own unhappiness. You will end up, at least on the emotional level, being a failure. Maybe you'll have $1 billion. Maybe you'll have 100 automobiles. Maybe you'll have mansions everywhere. But if you do not try to make other people happy, everybody else will be trying to make you unhappy. The world itself will be trying to make you unhappy. So how do you make others happy? You give them respect. You give them kindness. You give them caring, honest, real caring. So that if you have somebody that you're working with, or that you're studying with, or that your family, you give them what you would like to receive. Jesus Christ in the Christian Bible said it beautifully. He said, give unto your neighbor that which you would like to have your neighbor give unto you. So give to other people that which you want. It's a very, very simple teaching, but unfortunately it is followed by very few people. Not very few. Most people follow it. But there are many, many people who do not find this simple truth, do not understand it, and therefore are condemned because they have cut off one of the legs of the elephant on which they are riding. And so, in the balance, you have to take care of your physical body, but you have to take care of your emotional body by giving out the kind of energy to other people that you would like to receive from them. Now there's another aspect to this, And that's that the energy that we give out, the energy that we put into anything at all. Many of you are engineering students, so you'll understand this. If you put energy through a wire, it creates a magnetic field around that wire. Isn't that true? If you put energy into trying to make other people happy, it's like putting that wire into energy into a wire. It will create a magnetic field around that intention in your mind, and that magnetic field will end up drawing to you from sources that you may not even know exist. It will draw to you people, conditions, opportunities that will care about your happiness because you care about the happiness of the world. If you don't care about the happiness of others in the world, why should the world care about your happiness? And if you do, then the world has to care about your happiness because the law of karma says that it must. And so the emotional balance that you are striving to achieve is to give positive energy. There are other aspects to this. When you want to be a success, you need to hold in your mind success conditions, successful thoughts. Even your body posture is going to be important in something like this. Because when your consciousness is expanding, your body will respond and will also assume an expansive condition. And when it's contractive, and when it's sad, when it is frightened or uncertain, it's going to attract also that consciousness. So many of you in some time in the not too distant future are likely to have a job interview, and that job interview will be very important. There will be a lot of pressure on it, there will be a lot of stress, you will have a lot of desire, you will want to succeed in that. When you go into that job interview, be expansive in your consciousness and even expansive in your body. If you walk into a room and there is an interviewer there, and he says a question such as, "Do you think you can be a successful engineer for our company?" And your body language is like this. You say, "I think I can." How impressed is he going to be? I saw something relatively recently that said the best way to have a successful job interview is to assume what they called the superwoman posture. That's confident, expansive, open. If you assume that posture for 2 minutes before your job interview, it changes your brain chemistry, and it changes the chemistry of your body, and it changes your energy level. And this has been done by studies. 75% of the people who do that pass their job interview, as opposed to 35% who are on their cell phone, all scrunched in on themselves in the waiting room, shrinking their aura. And so be expansive. If you're expansive, if you're happy, if you're confident, the person giving you that job interview will understand that, will see that immediately. Be kind to the person. Think kind thoughts. Don't think negative thoughts. They'll feel that. We all pick up on subtle cues, and we all pick up on subtle consciousness. So take care of your physical body, take care of your emotional body. But now there's another aspect to us, to each of us, which is our spiritual nature. Now, I do not mean by spiritual nature, I do not mean religious nature. I do not mean that you have to have a belief system, that you have to go to a particular temple, or that you have to do a series of particular kinds of rituals. That is not necessary for your spiritual evolution. What am I talking about for your spiritual evolution? Spiritual evolution can be defined by the upliftment and expansion of your consciousness. You know, India especially, India is the guru of the world, because from ancient times in India, men and women have meditated, and what meditation is a stilling of their consciousness, a stilling of the restlessness of their mind, and the ability to concentrate a still mind on some aspect that is universal. Let's say light. So a person meditating stills their consciousness and concentrates on light that can be seen here in the forehead. Now that can be done by anyone of any belief, of any culture, of any time, of any age. But what does that do for you? What does the practice of meditation do for you? If it didn't bring you happiness, remember that's what you're ultimately after, isn't it? So if meditation did not achieve the purpose of helping you achieve happiness, it would be a useless practice. But meditation, and there are now thousands and thousands of studies that have been done, medical studies, psychological studies, and so on. The practice of meditation, and not just our kind of meditation. I'm not trying to convert you to our spiritual path, even though we have a wonderful spiritual path. I'm saying any meditation will change your brain. It will make the 4 prefrontal lobes of your brain, they will grow in size, they will grow in activity. And why is that important? Because it is here that the seat of discrimination, of happiness, of joy, of those things that you yourself are seeking, it is here that the brain at least emanates those qualities. What else does it do? It shrinks those areas of the brain that produce violence, that produce fear, that produce anxiety. All of you are going to be under stress in your life. We have a doctor in our community in America who has a clinic that is famous throughout all of America because he teaches certain kinds of balanced living in that clinic. He says that the single best antidote to stress is to learn to meditate and practice for some period of every day a little bit of meditation. It doesn't have to be a lot. Gradually, if you just practice some, it will change and help and uplift and help you achieve the very thing that you're trying to achieve, which is your happiness. So to learn a little bit of meditation and practice a little bit of meditation will help enormously with the kind of pressure, the kind of stress that you are likely to deal with for the rest of your life. And if you can balance your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual nature, those 3 things in balance will help you to lead a successful life. It will help you to lead a productive life, but most of all, it will help you to lead a happy life.